Hello Rimfire friends. Today is September 17th, 2022. I'm in the shop today with the Brno Model 4 project. I want to quickly talk about some bolt work that I'm going through. Somebody asked me in one of the comments about why the locking lug in a 452 or Brno bolt is better than no locking lug. What's the reasoning behind it? So I quickly wanted to pull out the 455 and show you, and then I might not really come up on camera, but when you close a bolt on any Rimfire, Savage, CZ, whatever, that only uses the bolt handle for a lug or a locking system, which is proven and it's fine for Rimfire. Because it's only on one side, when you close the bolt, there's a certain amount of canting of the bolt in the action. And you get a wear pattern, you can see it here, and it shows up more in person, but you can see that kind of galling at the end, scoring, whatever, very minor. Because what happens is as you close the bolt, it locks up, I'm exaggerating of course, but it doesn't lock up straight. And so as a result, you don't have a square contact with your bolt face with your breech face. And so as a result, you have a very slight amount of canting, if you get my drift. With a bolt with two opposing lugs, and if it's a Brigard B14R, they're up here, or if it's the Remington I showed recently, the 541XR, with 6 locking lugs, it locks the bolt up square, and as you can see, there is no score marks on one side because the bolt is locking up more square than if it doesn't have it, because there's 2 locking lugs, one here and one here, and as you close that bolt, it can lock it more square because it's not putting more contact on one side versus the other, because the bolts are acting as one. So the lugs are acting as one. Anyway, that's why. Now, you can understand if you had a bolt and it was supposed to lock up square and it was canted, what that would affect accuracy or extraction, ejection, or not. But these are all things that matter for max accuracy when you're getting into some serious results. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Get rid of this bolt here. So what I wanted to talk about today was how to analyze wear surfaces on a bolt. So you can see this is my Brno bolt, and you can see it's covered in heavy grease because I really wasn't sure about the wear surfaces on this before I started doing some bolt smoothing work. And so I coated it in heavy grease, and I've been playing with it back and forth and checking feeding, that sort of thing. So we should have a good idea of what wear surfaces look like inside this bolt. So I'm quickly going to field strip and show you what inside of a Brno Model 4 or 2 or whatever bolt look like. And you guys have probably seen before how to take apart a CZ455 452 bolt. It's exactly the same principle. I have a homemade bolt buddy, which is just a piece of wood with a kind of like a post on it. You decock the bolt, so you would take it out of the action and it would be cocked, and so all you do is decock the spring to take pressure off it. You put your bolt buddy or your whatever you have into the end of the caulking piece here at the back, and you depress it like so, and then you pull out your safety like this, and then the whole assembly slides out the back. Okay, so this is your rear piece. You can see right away on the end here there's some scoring marks. Perfect. Get these laid out here, and then out will come your firing pin, which is the same on a 455 and a 452, and then inside is your firing pin spring, and then your actual bolt handle and assembly. Okay, so I'll quickly show you what I'm talking about here, and so we have a good indication of where the high spots and low spots are in this blade thing. So you can see the surface here where the actual bolt handle rides is excellent. Machining tolerances are high. Okay. So let's look at the main piece that travels. So this is as you cock the bolt, this is what, of course, cocks the firing pin, and what travels back and forth But you can see right on the top here, there's some wear marks. Okay. And then you of course can see back here the shiny spots. So there's one there on the side. You can see some right here. So these are areas where there's some wear. And these of course are the factory metal blued surfaces. And so these would be areas that you would want to smooth and lighten. And I mean by lighten is, I'm not a very aggressive polisher. I don't get out there with stones and sandpaper, and I'm more kind of like a wheel polisher kind of guy. I don't go too crazy and remove a lot of materials. I just slick it up. So those areas that we'd want to focus on. And then right here you can see. And so all this means is there's enough wear, metal on metal, where it's worn away the blue. And this wasn't like this before. This is only since I've been playing with it. And I thought I'd show you quickly too what a proper pre-CZ spring looks like. You know, I have a video on dressing a spring. And so in the days where things were done better, look at the quality of the spring for 65 years old. Excellent. No need to replace this one. So there's some more wear areas there. Although I never really typically focus too much on this one because this has very little to do with really what I'm after. A lot of times I'll focus on the actual engagement surfaces. You can see a little bit, if we focus right there. So those shiny areas are wear areas. And they're corresponding with this piece here. Because that's what caulks it. So we're going to work on this a little bit and kind of lighten them up. So I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to do a little bit of work, and I'll check back with you in a second. All right, my friends. So got the first stage of polishing done. And this is just, you know, kind of a first run through after you see some of the wear spots. So I'll fully polish the caulking cam surface and then this bearing surface over here. So everything in between doesn't matter because it doesn't have any contact other than the sear surface, of course, which I very rarely touch. You can see this is the wear from the sear. I leave that as is. But all these surfaces don't matter because they don't contact. So this is what travels within the bolt housing. And so these are the surfaces I had wear before, and so what we've done is we just polished them, okay? Just on I actually used a Scotch-Brite coarse wheel first to remove kind of the rough bluing, and then I used a buffing wheel and compound on those, and then the surface right here. So there was some marks here, quite a bit actually. And so this is actually part of the caulking cam bearing surface, so that's been polished, as well as I've fully polished the lug, as well as some of the caulking cam surfaces. And for stage 2, if this is required, some of these notches will be reduced a little bit to, like I've talked about before, the Brno has a kind of like a ratcheting action, and so those can be reduced and blended a little bit better. Also, where the locking lug on the bolt handle, or the bolt handle locking lug, I've polished that slightly. And then this bearing surface here slightly. So this is, like I said, this is stage 1. We're just we saw where there was some wear pattern. We cleaned it up before the range, just to kind of get a little smoothness for our first trip. And then we'll have a look later. Areas like here doesn't matter. I'm not worried about those. Those are part of the... So those can be left. And so when you put this back together, and of course the spring was left as is because it's mint, when you put this back together and run it through for the first time, you're going to have a superior bolt feel. Now, not like initially, when you first put this back together, it's actually going to feel probably a little bit stiffer than before because you've polished away the bearing surfaces that, you know, ride in a certain predictable pattern. But it's, you know, first half a dozen or a dozen run-throughs with this bolt, they're going to establish those wear patterns again. And this will be a whole complete different animal compared to it was before because you have polished bearing surfaces. Now, of course, there's surfaces in here that you haven't, but you've essentially polished the mating surface, and so you've significantly improved it. Now, you can, of course, you can run buffing wheels down inside here, and that's different stages of polishing. But the basics is, this is basically how you polish a Brno or a CZ bearing surface in a minimal way, just to kind of improve performance a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. I want to thank you guys as always for watching. Any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. But if not, I'll catch you guys in the next one.